I'm Don Lemon. This President's Day, President Barack Obama just back at the White House after a weekend away, and he's got a very full plate as worldwide terror takes center stage. Egypt launching airstrikes against ISIS targets in Libya. Revenge for the terrorist slaughter of 21 Egyptian Christians. That as 42,000 people in Denmark mourn the victims of terror in Copenhagen this weekend. The sounds of gunfire at one of the attacks caught on tape obtained by the BBC. A suspect shown at a boxing club 2 years ago, apparently swearing allegiance to ISIS on his Facebook page just before the shootings. Here on the home front, nearly 8 in 10 Americans want Congress to give President Obama authority to keep using military force against ISIS, but 57% disapprove of how he is handling the battle against them. CNN's Pamela Brown is live for us tonight in Copenhagen. Athena Jones live for us at the White House this evening. Athena, I want to start with you. Let's talk about this new CNN poll. The numbers are out today. Americans are pretty unhappy with the way the president is handling the war against ISIS, aren't they?
They are, Don. Good night. This is not good news for this White House. As you mentioned earlier, only 40% of the American public supports the president's handling of this war against ISIS. 57% disapprove. That indicates an American public that is worried, that is scared. We're seeing the ISIS atrocities in the headlines on an almost daily basis. Today, those 21 Egyptian Christians who were beheaded on a beach in Libya. We've, of course, also learned of the Americans who have been killed, starting with James Foley, the journalist, and most recently Kayla Mueller, the aid worker. So this is something that has the American people concerned, and that may be why we're seeing a slight uptick in support for sending U.S. ground troops over to fight ISIS. Now 47% are in favor of doing that, 50% are opposed. Back in November, those numbers were 43% in favor of ground troops, 55% opposed. Of course, I should mention to you that a long ground war is not something that the White House or Democrats in Congress want to see, Don.
Athena, talk to us about the latest on the Egyptian strikes against ISIS.
Well, we know that in retaliation for the beheading of these Coptic Christians, a sect of Christianity common in Egypt, that the Egyptian government launched at least 2 airstrikes against ISIS targets in eastern Libya. The foreign minister of Egypt told Aaron Burnett a little while ago they hit 10 targets that were related to training and storage facilities for ISIS. And so their thinking is that they're hoping that there wasn't a lot of collateral damage. These were targeted strikes on training facilities and storage facilities against ISIS. But clearly this war seems to be expanding, Don.
Athena Jones at the White House. Stand by. I want to get to Pamela Brown now. She is in Copenhagen. Pamela, what is the latest you're hearing about this gunman?
Well, here in Denmark, Don, authorities have said that they knew about this suspect, 22-year-old Omar El Hussein, because of his gang ties, because of the convictions he had of violent crimes. But it's becoming increasingly clear that he had extremist ties as well. In fact, just before the shootings here in Copenhagen, he apparently posted on his Facebook page a pledge of allegiance, apparently to the leader of ISIS, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, before he went here behind me to this free speech event and opened fire, killing one person here and then going to a synagogue after that, killing one person there. We learned today that he was just released from jail just a couple of weeks ago, and there are indications that he grew increasingly radicalized in jail. We have heard this story before. There are similarities between what happened here and the Paris attacks. In fact, the suspect there, Amadei Coulibaly, similar situation, radicalized in jail. Don, people on the ground here say there is this growing problem of jihadists trying to recruit people like this suspect who have a violent crime background, gang ties, in order for them to come over and join their cause. Don?
Pamela, you spoke with a woman inside the synagogue at the time of the shooting. What were you told?
That's right. I spoke to Mete Bento. She's very emotional because it was her daughter's bat mitzvah happening at the synagogue when the shooting took place. She said it was just about 1 o'clock in the morning. They were having a great time. All of a sudden, someone ran in, said, turn off the music, go downstairs into the basement to the safe room. And she said that the children were upset. No one knew what was going on for 2 hours. She said it was horrifying, and she got really emotional, especially talking about her friend, Dan Uzan, who was killed right outside the synagogue. Here's what she said.
All I could think about was, of course, Dan and his family, and how are we going to show our gratitude? And yeah, so it was scary. It was a very violent experience, as you would say in Danish.
There have been folks who have said after the shootings that they wanted to leave Denmark. I asked her if she felt the same way. She said, no, I am Danish and I am proud to be Danish. I'm staying here. Don?
Pamela Brown, thank you very much. Athena Jones as well. I want to turn now to John Miller, the New York Police Department's Deputy Commissioner for Intelligence and Counterterrorism. Thank you so much for joining us, especially on this holiday. What are your sources telling you about the attacks in Copenhagen?
I think what we're seeing of the attacks in Copenhagen is what we've seen before. We're developing a model, and that is, you see a suspect emerge who is part criminal, part loser, part seeker, who is buying into this narrative. And the narrative promises three things. It promises valor for somebody who feels that they're not being seen, they can be a hero. It promises belonging to someone who's an outcast, that they can be a part of something. And it promises empowerment for somebody who feels that they're ostracized or isolated. And that's reaching people in the margins. We know that from the 3 attacks that occurred in Canada in September. We know that from what we saw in Paris, particularly the second suspect that Pamela talked about, Koulibaly, who was a guy with a criminal background who just got out of prison, who met the other suspects there. But this is what we're seeing, Don.
Yeah. And so when you look at, you mentioned Canada, and then you look in just in the last 6 weeks what happened in Europe, very similar attacks. People are sitting at home on this holiday, preparing to go back to work tomorrow, wondering, are we next? Is this going to happen here? Are we a big target?
So we are next. But remember, we're not next. We were first, meaning we had September 11th. We lost 3,000 people to a plot on U.S. soil, but that was an organized plot from the corporate structure of al-Qaeda. What we've seen since then is over 200 cases targeting terrorists, on U.S. soil, and of those, probably 70 have involved plots against U.S. interests, mostly on U.S. soil, including plots against New York. And we've seen the lone wolves. We've seen the people recruited online in New York City. We saw Zale Thompson, who was a guy who very much fits the model we talked about, Don. Kind of a guy in the margins who was failing at everything, but he bought the narrative. He channeled his anger through it, and he attacked a police officer with a hatchet and was killed by his partner.
You used to work at the FBI, and you know what your job is now with the New York City Police Department. So what is going on inside the FBI, inside of our intelligence agencies and our security agencies now after this recent attack?
What's going on inside the FBI is what's going on inside the New York City Police Department, is what's going on in the Los Angeles Police Department, and my good friend Chief Downing out there in their intelligence bureau. What they're all doing is, they are trying to keep up with the information and the threats coming in, and they're trying to do the kind of triage, which is, how do you sort out who's a loudmouth, who likes political speak with a tinge of violence, and who's really dangerous. And as I'm sitting here talking to you right now, I have an office full of people who are sorting through those, really looking for what's the targeting package, who do we focus on, who do we put aside. Because I think, as you're seeing in Europe, there aren't enough people to cover every single threat that emerges on some level. So you have to figure out which are the ones that look serious.